Hello, traveler. Call me Yelan. I think you may need my help, and I just so happen to be interested in some information you have. In other words, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Hello Embers, Final Flame here, and today we have a Yelan weapon video as promised. So, let's just get straight into the video. First things first, base attack does not play much of a role for Yelan when you're building her. So, whenever you see the weapon's base attack, it's basically useless unless you're playing a physical damage Yelan. So, this means that you need to really pay attention to the secondary stat as well as the weapon's passive, because these are going to play major roles in Yelan's ability to, do damage or play the role that you need her to. So I highly suggest picking up weapons that she can use both the weapon's secondary stat as well as the passive. Now remember, at the end of the day, play Yelan however you want, but I'm just trying to give you some of my top picks in this video that I feel will help you have a very strong and balanced Yelan day one. Anyway, without any further ado, let's get to the first weapon. The first weapon up is the Favonius War Bow, which you actually can receive through the main story quest by defeating Dvalin, which makes it a very valuable free-to-play option. The secondary stat is energy recharge, and at level 90 this can reach up to 61.3% energy recharge. And whenever you use this weapon, you have a chance of producing 6 energy whenever you score a critical hit, and this can occur every 12 seconds at refinement 1, but at higher refinements, especially refinement 5, this lowers to occurring every 6 seconds, and the chance of it proccing when you score a critical hit goes from 60 to 100% at refinement 5. Personally, this bow is a great free-to-play starter option. I believe a lot of people can use this to keep their Yelan's burst up, and not only that, help battery the rest of their team in order to make sure that the bursts are, flowing and that you can use them back to back. Honestly, I believe this is a great starter weapon for Yelan. The next weapon up is the Sacrificial Bow, which has energy recharge similar to the Favonius War Bow, and this energy recharge can reach up to 30.6% at level 90. The weapon passive though is, in my opinion, the real selling point and will be insane for Yelan. After dealing damage with the elemental skill, you actually have a chance of lowering the cooldown and resetting it all the way back to 0 so you can recast your elemental skill. And the main reason I find this really good for Yelan is due to the fact that some people might be debating if they want to go for C1 Yelan, which allows her to cast your skill twice. With this bow, you can actually have a pseudo C1 Yelan without actually getting the C1. And if you do get the C1, then that just means you get to cast your skill 3 times if you use this bow. The chance of activation goes from 40 to 80% at refinement 1 to 5, and the occurrence time goes from 30 seconds to 16 seconds from refinement 1 to 5. So it's honestly a super solid weapon at higher refinements. The next weapon up is the Stringless, and honestly, I believe this weapon is going to be very good for reaction-based comps for Yelan. Now, for the weapon's secondary stat, it's Elemental Mastery, and this can go up to 165 Elemental Mastery at level 90. Now, the weapon's passive is really the selling point. It increases elemental skill and elemental burst damage by 24% at refinement 1, and this goes all the way up to 48% at refinement 5. Personally, I wouldn't use this bow unless you're playing in a reaction-based comp. This bow is going to be great for like vaporized comps where Yelan is the one actually triggering the reaction, and Electro Charge, which is a very good comp in this day and age, and honestly, you just have to try it to see it. But personally, I feel like this bow does have a place on this list, and it can be very viable for people even if they're just having her do off-field damage due to the damage bonus. The next weapon is the Fading Twilight Bow, and this bow is actually really impressive and free because it's coming with the 2.7 event. So if you're playing during patch 2.7 or watching this video during patch 2.7, get this bow. Anyway, this bow has a secondary stat of energy recharge, and it can reach up to 30.6% at level 90. Now the weapon passive is what's really awesome. This weapon has 3 states, and each state provides a damage bonus to your character even when they're off field. So the first state is 6%, the second state is 10%, and the last state is 14%. And when attacks hit opponents, this weapon will switch to the next state. This weapon can change states once every 7 seconds, and it can even switch states while off field. So this weapon is great for off-field damage bonus, and it's going to be great for off-field Yelan. Not to mention, this weapon has refinements, so those damage bonuses are probably going to double at refinement 5. So get this weapon, it's stupid good. The next weapon on this list is the Skyward Harp, and the main reason I put it on this list is due to the fact that this weapon is just an insane stat stick. This weapon has a secondary stat of crit rate, which can reach up to 22.1% at level 90. Not to mention, the weapon's passive provides 20% crit damage at refinement 1, and at refinement 5 it goes all the way to 40%. While the weapon's other part of its passive isn't really ideal due to it doing bonus damage based off of your physical attack damage, it's still bonus damage, which is just great for, you know, making sure you DPS. But honestly, the main reason that this weapon is on the list is purely due to it being an amazing crit rate, crit damage weapon that will help you balance out your stats and maybe give your Yelan the oomph she needs to deal more damage. This is purely for just DPS, so if you want your Yelan to hit harder, this is a great option. The next weapon up is the Elegy for the End, and this is an amazing support-based bow. This weapon has a secondary stat of energy recharge, and it will go up to 55.1% at level 90. As for the weapon's passive, the wielder will have increased elemental mastery by 60, and this weapon will gain sigils whenever you hit the enemy with an elemental skill or elemental burst, which is great for Yelan, especially off field. And whenever you get 4 of these sigils, your team will gain 100 elemental mastery and 20% attack, and this is team wide. This will mean your reaction damage will be boosted, and that means that like characters like Hu Tao or any other pyro based DPS that you might pair with Yelan, or even Electro Charge, is going to be hitting much harder. This is the ideal support bow to have Yelan support your main DPS. The last weapon I'm going to cover is the Aqua Simulacra, which is Yelan's best in slot bow without a question. And if you are lucky enough to get it, you are going to be seeing some nutty numbers. So this bow has a secondary stat of crit damage, and this crit damage goes all the way to 88.2% at level 90. Not to mention, the passive for this bow increases your HP by 16% for the wielder. And whenever an opponent's nearby, the damage dealt by the wielder of this weapon is increased by 20%. And this is all at refinement 1. At refinement 5, that damage bonus is going to go to 40. At refinement 5, that HP bonus is also going to go to 32. So you are looking at a really nutty bow that's going to have Yelan hitting like Truck Kun in an isekai. So if you're gonna get this bow, you're about to be hooked up with some goodness. That will do for my list of bows that I believe are viable for Yelan. Now, I know some of you probably have some questions, like why didn't I include more secondary stat, crit damage, and crit rate bows, like the Black Cliff or the Polar Star, even the Thundering Pulse? The main reason I didn't include those is due to the passives not really being ideal for Yelan. Since Yelan doesn't use the base attack of a weapon, she really depends on the passive and the secondary stat being viable for her, in my opinion. So it's really important that you aim for weapons that she can fully utilize, since that base attack is not going to be a factor in most of her damage. Now, at the end of the day, play however you want. Those weapons are still viable, especially if you need that crit rate or crit damage in order to balance out your stats. And you should do what you feel is best. And I'm not telling you not to. But if you have any questions, please comment down below. I will answer them to the best of my ability, especially if you have questions for specific bows. Until then though, I hope you guys found this video informative, and I hope you consider liking the video and subscribing. Until next time, keep burning bright, Embers. Latom.
I stay cooking in the stove like I'm Jean Lane. Get too close, I put that flame on you like Hu Tao mains. Try to run, you won't get far. My gun, you got sniper aim. One day when we find our sibling, we'll see brighter days. Yeah, wishing for brighter days, wishing for finer things, like a 5-star name. Yeah, I'm addicted to pain, keep on wishing again. Bitch, I want everything.